Hi friends! Welcome back to the Weekly Tweak, the show that is now back to filming the monologue from the comfort of my own converted factory of an apartment. This week, the flu is back, and oh Lord is it bad. A new strain is sweeping the nation, and it has caused one of the worst flu seasons in history, already leading to over 3,000 deaths since October. I myself was on death's doorstep last week, and still today. The teleprompter is swirly and my nose is more stuffed than whatever Oreo is making these days. So hold my hand and take a deep, congested breath as we trudge through this monologue together. And it's starting off bleak, as the nonprofit responsible for funding public media giants NPR and PBS will dissolve. The government organization that's responsible for allocating funds to these networks, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, is going away since Congress pulled $1.1 billion from its budget. NPR and PBS won't necessarily shut down, at least not straight away, but it's not a beautiful day in the neighborhood for them right now since most of their funding is gone. In the coming weeks, you can expect huge layoffs and show cancellations from both companies. Everyone's favorite Midwest princess was accidentally racist, kind of. Chaperone, seen here telling kids to just say no to drugs, posted a tribute to Brigitte Bardot, a global sex symbol for the 1950s. Chaperone mentions Brigitte Bardot in her song Red Wine Supernova, a hands-down banger destined to make even Martha Stewart contemplate lesbianism. So it's only fitting that she posts a little thank you to the dead lady. Brigitte Bardot died last week, by the way. But only hours later, Chappell took down the post and replaced it with this apology. Holy shit, I did not know all the insane shit Miss Bardot stood for. Obs, I don't condone this. Very disappointing to learn. I also didn't know this about Miss Bardot, but apparently she was a raging racist and homophobe. Actually, she was fined 5 times due to her remarks in public about certain demographics. Also, somehow she wasn't a fan of the Me Too movement. Chappell, I don't blame you. Good job catching your mistake, Queen. Another queen catching mistakes, Zohran Mamdani. This week he visited some New York apartments and he wasn't shocked, but sure was appalled by the state of them.
This?
Yes, it was like mold.
Mayor Mamdani left the spotlight at City Hall and made a beeline to visit someone's dilapidated bathroom in Brooklyn.
I can relate. The bottom of my shower was already brown when I moved in, and for some reason the toilet is not attached to the floor. And now, for the first 100 days he's in office, Mamdani is urging working-class citizens to take part in rental rip-off hearings, where tenants can report anything and everything about the challenges they face in their rental property, from property upkeep to steep prices. Now, for all intents and purposes, these hearings serve as nothing else but tea-spilling sessions, but Mamdani says he'll be using the information to see how he can best help renters during his time in office. Someone taken out of office, if the office was the ocean, is a record-breaking bluefin tuna in Tokyo. Look at this thing. It sold for $3.2 million on Monday to Kiyoshi Kimura, who also bought the previous record holder for most expensive tuna, which he only paid $2.1 million for back in 2019. Now I know when I said, someone taken out of office, your mind probably went straight to all that jazz happening in Venezuela. But instead we talked about a fish. Well, I deeply apologize, but just look at this thing. Sorry, we can talk about Venezuela now, but the whole story. In our next segment, what the fudge is happening? Okay, Venezuela. Let's just dive right into it. On January 3rd, the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife were captured by the U.S. military and put into custody. Fun fact, Maduro is being kept at the same facility as Diddy and Luigi Mangione. Toss Martha Stewart back in, and we have an R-rated New Girl reboot. So what did Maduro do? Drugs, drug trafficking, with a capital allegedly. A lot of charges put on Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, are under conspiracy. If you're like me, you can probably assume what a conspiracy charge is, but it'll still be helpful to get a direct definition. The crime of conspiracy involves the planning of a crime with at least one other person. You or another party to the plan must complete at least one overt act in furtherance of the plan in order for you to be prosecuted. In this case, the conspiring duo consists of Maduro and Flores, and potentially their son. The specific crimes they committed or conspired to commit include narco-terrorism, possessing machine guns and destructive devices, and importing cocaine. All around, we can agree, illegal stuff. Now, When someone gets kidnapped, especially when the kidnapper is a poorly aging orange, some US citizens tend to freak out. That's okay, y'all are just going off of instinct, but let's try to take in the whole picture here. After the death of Hugo Chavez in 2013, Maduro was sworn in as interim president and just never left. Maduro presided over more than a decade of policies that sent Venezuela's economy into freefall and helped drive the migration of millions from the country. You see, when Maduro first took office, Venezuela was doing pretty good. It's home to the largest crude oil reserve in the world. They are literally sitting on a gold mine. But Maduro made a bad bet with how to handle the oil industry and decided to print money to make up for it. Also a bad bet, because it led to a over 65,000% inflation by 2018. For reference, the US is only at 2,400% inflation for the same time period. So almost 8 million Venezuelans fled the country so that they could, eat and support their families. In 2024, those that stayed in the country made it clear that they were going to vote for someone else to replace Maduro. But of course, Maduro didn't like that, so the Maduro government imposed so many restrictions that the vote could not be considered legitimate. Maduro effed up, and he knew it. The whole world knew it. But instead of taking a step back and letting someone else come in and clean things up, Maduro doubled down his dictator habits and changed the rules so that in 2024, there was no other choice but for him to win the election. Actually, this other guy, Edmundo Gonzalez, seen here holding back a "that's what she said" joke, did win the election by a landslide. A 67% landslide, but Maduro quite literally bullied him into fleeing the country and living in political exile. So that is why you're seeing videos like these on the internet of Venezuelans celebrating the kidnapping of their president. So now what? They have no president. Who's in charge? It's this lady, Delcy Rodriguez. She was the vice president, and people like her as far as I can tell. Maduro and his wife are pleading not guilty to all charges, but we'll see how that turns out. And that whole Trump taking over thing, well, he can't just take over the country. But he's making some pretty clear demands to Delcy Rodriguez to make sure that the US can keep boats in the water and get more oil. All in all, I was prepared to be much more confused about what was happening in Venezuela. But in short, Maduro took office, made a bunch of bad decisions, didn't want to admit defeat, and got himself kidnapped. So that's what the fudge is happening. Let that settle in your head for a little bit as we travel to a new state.
Welcome to Oregon! We are at Wakena Falls. We wanted to go to Mount Nona Falls, but parking was crazy. So now we're at Wakena Falls. The main tree that we were surrounded by is the Douglas fir, which is actually the state tree of Oregon. Also, it is the name of the Trailblazers mascot. Trailblazers is our NBA team. Go Rip City. And Douglas fir isn't a tree mascot, he's a Sasquatch. These people should sleep on trees more. Behind me is the Columbia River. It is the largest river in the Pacific Northwest. It actually makes up most of the border between Oregon State and Washington State. Washington is its own state, by the way. It's not Washington, D.C. I know a lot of people get that confused. But yeah, Oregon and Washington right next to each other. Washington on top, Oregon on bottom. Columbia River. That's a Douglas fir. It's dead though. Deadless fir. You know that show Gravity Falls? So it takes place in the Pacific Northwest. Gravity Falls is not a real city in Oregon, but if it was, it would be like right here. There's all this blue stuff on these blackberry bushes. I have no clue what it is, but it's on like all of them. So if you know what it is, please tell me what it is. I'm really curious. Finally made it 900 feet up for a better view of the Columbia River. Look at that, it's gorgeous. There's no parking. There's no parking at Multnomah Falls.
Thanks for tuning in to the Weekly Tweak yet again. We will see you next week, and there will probably be more news about Venezuela. Bye!